Wow. Okay, let's see if I can finish this. And so, anyway, as I was saying, if you coming into this scope and you have to go back to the last scope to kind of pick up where we're picking up from here. All the replay viewers and web viewers and catch viewers, you'll have to go back to the scope prior to this one. And so after praying and after reading my Bible and after sitting down and asking God, what is it that I'm doing wrong? And I was forced to reflect on myself and what part I played and to finally face and take ownership. Thanks for coming back, Ruth. Thank you. To finally take ownership for what part I play in the demise of my relationship and how, how could I look at this from a more objective standing, if you will. And as I prayed for that, I asked God to help me to forgive, to help me to finally get rid of all the resentment, all of the pain, all of the disappointments that I had been through with my relationship with my sister and with my mother. And He gave me forgiveness to research. And so there was, in the month of August, I covered forgiveness. And as I walked through that, I kept saying, how can I, Lord, present information on forgiveness when I'm struggling so much myself? And it's amazing because I heard a sermon by one of my pastors, the Pastor John Gray, and he said something that really, ooh, yes. Pastor John Gray said something that really resonated with me, and at the time when he said it, I couldn't understand it because I'm like, he's so powerful, and he's you can see the Holy Ghost working through him for every one of us that receive his message. And when he said, sometimes God will have you delivering other people from their mess while He's delivering you from yours, and you keep asking God, but when is my turn? And so I kept being obedient, and I kept walking, and I kept saying, okay, well, I'm not going to question you. I'm going to let you work this out in me. And so I kept walking, and He kept lightening my load. And so I reached out to my sisters, and I said, I first reached out to my sister right under me. I sent her a text message, and I said, I want to see if we can go to therapy and work on us. I want you, me, and I said my baby sister to go to therapy so we can work on us because I want us to be better. And she didn't respond. Yes, praise God. Yes. And so she didn't respond. And so I said, okay. Whew. Normally the old me retreats back into a shell and just doesn't address it because I don't want to feel the rejection. But I prayed again. And I was instructed to reach out to all of my sisters. And so I reach out to all of my sisters. And I say, I really want us all to work on, I can't remember verbatim what I said, but I was extending. I wanted us all to start working on it. I miss you guys, and I really want to work on us. And she's the baby with my father's children. No, the third from the baby of my father's all of us together, children. And she reached out and she said, "Thank you, Sean, for reaching out." And uh, that was it. And so that was very painful. And so I said, okay, well, I can't expect them to just be ready because I'm ready. So I reached out again to my sister right under me, and she sent the most vile, nice, nasty text back that I really don't have time for your energy. Um, um, oh, you're the reason our children don't talk, and um, I don't want to do this just because you're ready. I don't want it. Something, I can't remember it exactly. What was strange about that is I've always encouraged our children to have relationships, and my daughter came to me and she was very hurt because she said, "Why didn't the girls reach out and tell me at least that grandma passed?" And that's what stopped them from talking. And so I responded to her, "We both have to take ownership in this. We both have to stop this. And if you're not ready now, I respect that. But when you are, I'll be here." And so um, there was no response after. And so I prayed about it. I asked God to help me to process it, help me not to feel the pain that I felt. Because, of course, I love my sisters. I love my sisters as a whole. I want to have a relationship with them. I miss them dearly. But when I went to God in prayer and the calm and the peace came over me, and I realized God's still doing a work. And because he says not right now, it's not a no. When I started 2 years ago and trying to get our family back together, and I started seeing all of the way the devil was tearing up our family, my son's marriage, which they're now back together, and my grandbabies have their parents back together. Um, it was so much that was on our family at the time that I couldn't see that it was divisive. And because when you are given, and for those of you who are in the Christian faith, you understand this, when you are given an assignment, there are many distractions that come up against you. Many things will be there to take your attention away from what God is doing in your life and through you. And that is what, in my prayer and meditation, I got. And God instructed me to be obedient and to continue doing what he told me to do. So when we got to Hamaji Healing Families, and I said, oh my God, this is going to be hard. Because I was going to have to address not just my sibling rivalry, but I was going to have to address my mom. I was going to have to address and bring back up my son and our relationship that deteriorated at the beginning of his mental health recovery. I was going to have to now face my fear that I would go into relapse and be depressed and have severe anxiety attacks. And I shared with my group on Saturday that on Saturday evening I had an anxiety attack after I had a call for a business coach session that I'm going through. And I attached it to being overly excited about the information I got and finally having a vision and a direction. But when I sat down and prayed, because I was like, Lord, I don't want to go down that road again. When I sat down and prayed and I asked for direction, and he worked within me that this is the week that we actually work on what you asked me for. Oh, God. And so when he said that to me, in my heart, I remembered that when God sends us lessons, they're not always wrapped in pretty paper. Sometimes they're wrapped in the ugly things that are in us that have to be worked out. So when I come here to share this message with you, it's a message of hope and a message of not giving up and not giving in and not saying, okay, this isn't it. And God isn't listening. Because even though we think that God isn't answering our prayers, He is. Because He takes those things in us that need to be purged, and those things in us whew, that we ask Him to work on. They say, be careful what you pray for, because God will give it to you. And sometimes He got to work out things in you. He got to pull out what's down inside that's preventing you from living in your best possible quality of life. And although this week was very scary for me at first, I took peace in knowing that God is working. I talked to my mom yesterday. I talked to my little sister yesterday. And I'm watching God work. And today, before I got on the phone with a friend earlier, was it after? Yeah, after I had a conversation on the phone with a friend earlier, my cousin, who is the son of my favorite auntie who passed away this year, he called me and he told me, cousin, he says, I was just calling to check on you. And this is my first cousin, and we all lost contact. And I hadn't talked to him in years. And after my aunt passed away, we reconnected, and I told him my goal for our family and what I'm looking to do and how I'm hoping to end this generational curse. And he called today. And I told my daughter, I said, I can see God working. And that gives me hope. And that gives me the strength to keep going. You see, if God gives us adversity, He has a way. He has a way of giving you little glimpses into your future of where your blessing and your deliverance is coming from. So if you feeling at this time in your life, and as these holidays approach, if you are feeling that God didn't hear you and He's not working, know that He is. But it's in His time, not ours. So if I can clean myself up here and catch my breath, I can share with you my 7 tips. Oh yes, He's always there. I have 7 tips to share with you guys if I can compose myself. Yes. Omnipresent, all-powerful. Oh, deliverance is sweet. Please know that. Oh. Woo. I'm so glad we're going out of town this week. I need this. Thank you, Ruth. Oh. Okay. So, let me get through the 7 tips. Oh, boy. And so the 7 tips I have to share with you is 1, reach out to a sibling and let them know you miss them. Whew. Be willing to be vulnerable and know you can handle the response. Yes, reach out to a sibling and let them know that you miss them. Be willing to be vulnerable and and know that you can handle the response, especially with prayer. Stay in constant prayer. Keep your lifeline open with God because He will comfort you. He will. Number 2, stop competing. You're on the same team. Help one another elevate, share, and listen. Try telling your loved one what you love most about them and really dig into your admiration for that quality with and about them. A lot of times it's difficult to share what we love about our loved one, especially at a time when we're so angry with them and we're so bitter about a disagreement. But if you take the time sometimes, yes, stop competing. Stop competing. If you take the time sometimes and start writing down the things that you don't like about them, okay? But then write down the things you do like about them. And then the list that you don't like about them, don't focus on that one. Focus on the list of the things that you like about them and then see what it is that you desire the most to share with them about their best qualities. What I love about you is this, okay? Remember you are battling with your siblings. Remember what you are battling with your siblings about spill over into other relationships like motherhood, fatherhood, wifehood, husbandhood, and being a friend. It's not possible to build a wall around yourself and not keep other folks out. I said some folks out, but it's other folks out. So what the pain that we feel from the toxic or dysfunctional relationship we have with um, our siblings or our loved ones as a whole, that spills over into other areas of our lives. For me, it spilled over to friends. If you did something that looked remotely like you were shady or that you were opportunistic, I cut you off. I had nothing else to do with you. If something came across like you were being manipulative, that scared me. I cut you off. I didn't have a heart of consideration like, well, let me work through this and tell them how I feel and then see if we can work this out. It was like, oh no, I know what that is. Oh, we need to leave that alone. We don't need to go down that road. And so it shielded me off from having meaningful adult relationships in which I could be free and could be open and vulnerable. And so once I was able to start addressing my feelings of unforgiveness with my family, God released in me a peace. And He also released in me the ability to be vulnerable with friends. And He sent me another blessing in the form of a friend that I was able to meet on here. And it shifted my whole mindset and fear and how fear affects you. So know that know that God is working it out. You just have to be obedient. You just have to keep praying and you just have to keep walking. But don't let your soured relationship with your sibling fester. Address it so that you can move on. And if they accept it and they're willing to work with you, that's a beautiful thing. It is. But if they don't, know that you're going to be okay. Know that God is going to send you what you need when you need it. Okay? And know that God is working out, with your loved ones in their time. It's not our time. It's not when we think they should be ready. And it's actually not for us to judge that they aren't. So that's between them and God. What you have to do is remain obedient and follow through and approach and address everything with your loved ones, your siblings. Okay? Number 4, ask yourself, is it jealousy and why? Do you resent the relationship your parent or parents have with your sibling? I mentioned that, and that was very difficult for me because I had to come to terms with my mother always expected more of me. And she told me, because I know you're stronger and you can handle yourself, that's why I didn't help you, because I knew you could do it. And that was difficult to hear because I really needed her. And there's some things in my life that it would have come in handy if I'd had that support. But at the same time, I have to look back and I realize that God helped me through those times, and they made me who I am today. Um, my mother's heart is of compassion. It is. And I've learned a great deal about helping others through her. So there are some things that she passed on to me that were toxic, but there were other gifts that she passed on to me that are priceless. How to be an independent woman if I needed to be, how to love, how to forgive through everything I went through. I was able to learn how to forgive her and how to be resourceful, how to cook. So many things, positive things I learned from her. And those things I allowed to outweigh the negatives. Okay? And so I had to come to terms with, I felt like she favored my other sisters. And I felt like she hated me because I looked more like my father. And she blamed me for, my molestation. And so that was very difficult. But like I said, when I look back and I say, when you know better, you do better. And so um, we can't be angry with people for not having the tools. She apologized to me and she's being there for me in the best way she knows how. I can't do anything but respect that. I can't want her to be what I need her to be or more. I have to respect what she can give. I have to respect what my siblings can give, what they are capable of. It's not about what I want or what I desire it to be. It's about accepting what is. As long as it's not intruding on my person, as long as it's not emotionally abusive, then I have to accept them for who they are, not what I want them to be. Okay? Number 5, stop trying to change your sibling. Let them be who they are. I already covered that one. But that's number 5. Stop trying to change your sibling. Let them be who they are. Number 6, create boundaries around your life and family that are appropriate with both your siblings and your parents. Decide what is comfortable and stick to that, changing and updating accordingly to your personal growth and development. And I say that because a lot of times we put boundaries in place that serve us at a certain point in our life, and then we grow and we learn to be more compassionate, more empathetic, and we realize that those old boundaries are no longer necessary because we're comfortable now, right? We have confidence in that area that maybe once was very scary, made us very fearful, and so as you grow and as you learn and get your heart broken, recover from it, learn you can stand up again after disappointment, there's something that happens in you personally that gives you the strength to go on and to try and to not give up on personal relationships, not give up on being vulnerable. All those things are the gifts that come wrapped in those adversities and those trials that you've been through. And like I said, adjust accordingly. As you get more confident in certain areas of your emotional life, certain areas of your um, um, intimate life, intimate relationships, then you start to know, okay, if I let this person in and it doesn't work out, then I know that I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. I will not have robbed myself of the experience. Okay? So that's number 6. Number 7, take inventory and be honest. Are you part of the problem? Right? And that's what I was talking about. I had to understand that I was also part of the problem. My resentment, my failure to forgive, my not speaking out and saying this is what I need, and then I was a codependent. So I would give, and serve, in hopes that someone would give it back or they would do it for me. And a lot of times people aren't capable of giving you what you give them. And I covered that. I'm sorry, my butt is hurting from sitting on this chair I have in my office. I gotta get more comfortable chairs. So I have to keep shifting. I covered that in the first week of our mental health and family series. And when I was talking about husbands and wives and how we can't always expect there's going to be a 50-50 exchange in terms of give and take. Sometimes somebody can give, 80%, the other person 20. And the same thing applies for us in our affairs with our parents and our siblings, um, and friendships, right? With our friends, with our partnerships and business partnerships. At some point, someone's going to be given more. The important thing is don't always be the one given the more. Okay? That's that. Number 8. Remember, we are judged by the same measure by which we judge. Okay? So if we choose to say, well, I'm not going to, give them a chance because they did this or they did that, or so now they don't want to talk to me or whatever, so I'm not going to be ready when they're ready or whatever. It just continues the cycle. Someone has to be big enough to say, you know what, enough is enough. I'm going to be the one to open up and take the risk. And when I say be careful of how we judge, because at some point I myself, God had to work on me. He had to take me inside myself to see, you can't be self-righteous. You chose to do those things. Those were things you took upon yourself. No one forced you. If you didn't like it and you didn't want it, you should have stopped. And so we have to take ownership. We can't look outside and say, oh, well, yeah, they didn't make you do it. Nobody makes you do it. We do what we want to do. We think what we want to think. We are responsible for our actions and our reactions. People can do whatever they want to do, but it's how we handle it, how we react, how we choose to react, okay? We're in control of ourselves. We can't go pointing the finger outwardly until we've addressed here what's going on with us, okay? And so, number 9, remember your sibling doesn't have to be ready just because you are. Tell yourself you will be okay either way. I shared a video on all of our social media sites, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And it's a video about a therapist talking with a young woman. And she was, and it's a good video. Please go by and check it out. The link is in there. You can watch it on YouTube. Let me see if I can see the name of it. So if you don't feel like going to our pages, which I don't mind that either, you can just look up the name of the video. Let me see where it is. Okay, the video is called How to Handle Adult Sibling Rivalry and Stop the Tug of War Over Money. Okay, I know it's not about money, but the message that she gives in the video is how, and this was a morsel for those of us who are parents and are looking to break the generational curses. This is big because she addresses how important it is for the parents to be the ones proactive in healing the relationship between siblings, because siblings cannot themselves heal the relationship because they are the competitors, right? They're all in this, they all are competing for the attention of the parent. And in our instance, my dad had all girls and one boy. And so, we all were competing, for something that wasn't there. My father passed away when a great deal of my siblings were very young. And the last time I interacted with him before his death, and when I was 15, I was in the 6th grade. And so there we were left without guidance. And as I mentioned earlier in the scope before this one, our mothers couldn't be a source of resolution for us because there was too much pain between them due to my father, right? And so there was just this conflict there. And so in the instance where that happens, where you don't have a parent who can be the responsible party and be able to come together, in the instance where you have blended families, where you have multiple children with different families, like my father had another wife after my mom, and then he had other long-term relationships he was in that resulted in children. And so when they aren't there to give us guidance, and to reassure all of us how important we are to them, and to let us know they love us equally, or not equally, but uniquely for our individual traits, or, there was enough love to go around. And so you wind up with adults who are still trying to address their inner child. She, in this video, and I'll tell you the name of it again, How to Handle Adult Sibling Rivalry and Stop the Tug of War Over Money. She put it down to a science. And I don't care how many therapy sessions I've been to, I've never heard it put the way she put it. and it was very clear and concise, and something for us parents to consider and rearing of our children. I have um, 4 adult children now, and one teenager left at home, and it really spoke to me and witnessed to me how um, proactive I must always be in keeping a line of communication open between my children and letting them all know exactly where they matter and how they each contribute to the quality of my life. And as parents, that's important for us, especially for us that are trying to break generational curses. So check out the video. And number 10, keep loving them and keep praying for them. I pray for my sisters and my brother. I pray for them. I pray for God to keep my heart where I don't feel the pain, where I don't feel sad, and to keep me hopeful and to keep me always trusting in Him that He knows what's best and that He's working it out. And I know that He is. I know that my siblings have good hearts. I know that one day, one day, I know that one day God's going to work it out, and that we'll look back on this and smile because we've stopped something that no one has been able to stop in our family. So I thank you guys for joining us, even through my weepiness and my hot conditioner thing going on. I appreciate you stopping in. I hope something that was shared here blessed you and your family in some way. We are here Tuesday through Friday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time normally. And then Saturday, sunrise Central Standard Time, I do a sunrise scope. And I'm all about raising awareness for how important it is to have and be a means of support for those battling mental health conditions, and how important a family's support is to the recovery process of someone with a mental illness. It changes their journey dramatically to know that they are loved and accepted no matter what, and that relapse is not the end of the world. And so that's important to raise awareness about. And as I mentioned in prior scopes before, the title of our hashtag, Hamaji Healing Families, is not out of arrogance. It's more out of love and expectation that at least one family be affected by what we've shared, and that God is working it out either way. Okay? So thank you guys for stopping in. I end my scopes in the evening by saying, may God give us peace as our pillow, and may God bless us real good. Thank you guys so much for joining, and good night. Uh-oh. It's frozen.